Good afternoon, Central Oregon and beyond. This is Josh coming at you with episode 6 of Apres Chats, my podcast all about Central Oregon sports and outdoors and so much more. Here in Central Oregon, we all love getting outside to play, whether you're up in the mountains, down on the lakes and rivers, or anywhere in between. We love getting outside in that Central Oregon sun, but afterwards, we all love coming down to a local brewery and cracking a cold one with the crew and enjoying some Apres Chats. On today's episode, I'm sitting down with my very good friend Kate. She's an absolutely fantastic human. She's relatively new to the Bend area, only been living here about a half a year, but she's a brewer at one of our local breweries. She's a content creator on social media for the ski industry, and she does so much more. She's a really rad woman doing a lot of things in relatively male-dominated spaces. So she's a super cool girl, and we're going to talk to her about all of that kind of stuff. Also, by the way, if you like Josh Reports, if you like Apres Chats, if you like all this fun stuff, I do have a new website you can check out. It's www.joshreports.com. Feel free to swing on over, have a good time, crack a cold one, and get ready for some Apres Chats. Good afternoon, Central Oregon and beyond. This is Josh coming at you with another episode of Apres Chats on an absolutely beautiful, slightly windy day, so apologize for any noise variations going on there, but we're hanging out at Pine Nursery. My good friend Kate is joining me. She just got off of work. Kate, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. A little tired, but I'm here talking to you, so...
Little sleepy, long day at work. Got up early.
Yes, 3:30 a.m.
It is a god-awful hour to wake up, but...
It's not that bad.
Honestly, I was going to bed around that time last night. Bartender versus beer content.
Yeah, there you go.
Right?
There you go.
So you work at 10 Barrel. You just got off. What do you do at 10 Barrel?
So I was a brewer for 6 months, but I most recently transitioned to the lab, so I'm a quality analyst there. And right now I'm doing mostly packaging quality and microbiology, but I do a little bit kind of here and there. So
very cool. I do plan to dive into that in a little more detail later on, but you are relatively new to Bend. You've been here for what, like 8 months, 6 months?
Since November. Mid-November.
November, December, January, February, March, April, May, almost June. Almost 7 months, a little over a half a year. But where are you originally from?
So this is going to be like a little bit of a long-winded answer, but I'll try to keep it interesting. I grew up in Florida. That was where my childhood was. 10 years in the Tampa Bay area. And then I was in Alabama for 4 years for like middle school and early high school. And then for my sophomore year of high school, I moved to Washington, which is like Washington, Seattle area. But that's where I feel like I identify with the most. I kind of picked up a lot of my hobbies there, and I feel like a lot of my like personality and stuff grew there. So
gotcha.
I usually just tell people I'm from Washington.
Fair enough. Well, I do appreciate the in-depth answer on that one. Being from Washington and being down here, obviously I kind of met you through the ski scene. Mm-hmm. How long have you been skiing for?
I learned to ski when I was 12 in North Carolina. Sugar Mountain. Any of my folks know Sugar Mountain, North Carolina?
Spent your life living in Washington, but you learned to ski in NC.
Yes, exactly. I learned to ski there. It was night skiing, actually, which is kind of funny. That was the first time I ever skied, was at night.
Nice.
And then after that, like between, I think the ages of 12 and 15, I went on one ski trip to Colorado with my family. So by like 15 or 16, I really had only skied twice.
Gotcha.
And then we moved up to Washington, and that's when I was like, okay, like I want to ski more. Like I remember when I learned in North Carolina, I skied for like 2 days. And I was just like begging my parents. I was like, can we please stay another day? And like now, like the snow I ski, I'd be like, why would I want to stay another day on that god awful mountain?
Hey, skiing's still skiing regardless of the snow, right?
But I knew I loved it a lot, and that I originally just wanted to, get better at it and be able to progress from like blues to blacks, and I didn't even think I would be doing double blacks ever or anything beyond that, but yeah. So I learned to ski like a little bit.
There's a puppy.
Hi. I usually tell people I learned to ski a little bit later in life, because I feel like a lot of the people I've met here learn to ski at like 2 or before they can walk.
Guilty.
So, yeah.
Yeah. But speaking of that, where did you ski up in Washington? Where was your kind of home resort before you moved here?
So Stevens was my main spot. Shout out Stevens Pass. But I also got more into skiing like Crystal and Alpental, especially during COVID.
God, Crystal's such a beautiful place.
oh
I
my
just
God,
skied there for my first time this season.
Yeah, no, it's
phenomenal.
The terrain there is definitely like the side country is insane, like
Yeah.
what you can access. But yeah, usually I had like an Epic pass, so I would go to Stevens. But then during COVID, I just started using my friends' Icon passes because I
Nice.
wanted to ski Crystal more.
I mean, if it works, it works, right? And so you moved here basically at the beginning of the ski season. What brought you here? Was it the skiing, or was it some other stuff included, or?
So it was mostly work. I pretty much had my brewing job lined up by the time I moved here, but I kind of had been on my radar for a while.
Yeah.
Since high school, probably, because we took a few trips down here, and I was like, man, this is pretty nice. Mountains close, and then like in college too. I kind of realized my passion for fermentation, and Bend is such a hub for breweries. So
I don't know what you're talking about. We don't have
no,
any beer
no,
here.
it's
None
only
at all.
water here.
Well, that's rad. How have you been liking it? How was Bachelor for you this season?
I absolutely love it. It's definitely like, I feel like a lot of people say this when they come from like Washington or Utah or Colorado or whatever, but the terrain is a little more mellow, but
Yeah.
like it's super playful, and I feel like it's given me a good opportunity to actually work on like little tricks and stuff, like instead of going to Stevens or Crystal and only doing steep lines.
Right. You definitely started becoming a bit of a park girly this season.
I know. It was at first against my will, but then
It's fun
yeah.
growth. It's fun to
It
learn and
is.
change and do different things. Do you have a favorite area on Mount Bachelor now that you spent a season here?
I mean, like the summit hike is so good, like
Oh
when
my
you can
God, it
get
is.
to it, but I think a consistent area that I love that you can get to is just like West Bulls.
Yeah.
And honestly, Northwest lift line. Like that lift line
It's
is
so much
so
fun
good on
over
a
there.
powder day. Like I usually, like this past season, I would always do that a few times first and then traverse way out into West Bulls.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, didn't disappoint.
It's always a good place to be. Do you have I mean, season just wrapped up literally less than a week ago as of recording this. Do you have any fun summer plans lined up for Central Oregon's summertime?
For Central Oregon, just like, getting some backpacking trips together, hiking, river, obviously.
Yeah.
I love to float. Love me a float.
Love a good float. You
but-
doing any ski touring over the summertime? You planning on getting on snow again?
I want to, yeah. I
Yeah.
have a pretty heavy setup right now, but I do want to get out for volcano season, as everyone calls it. But I'm backpacking Mount Whitney in September, so I'll have to be kind of up on my training.
Yeah.
I'll probably do some rucking and some like long hiking kind of out in the Deschutes wilderness.
For
so.
sure. That's going to be super fun, though.
Yeah, I'm
Hell yeah.
excited.
How long are you doing that for?
So I'm doing like a 40-mile kind of horseshoe, so not the traditional portal route, with some friends. We're starting, can't remember exactly what campground it is, but we're basically going to take like 4 or 5 days to kind of come around the back of Whitney and end at the portal.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it should be fun.
Hell yeah. So that's kind of the get to know you questions. One of the things I really wanted to talk to you about bringing you onto the podcast today was you are a content creator, and specifically a woman content creator in the outdoor sports industry, which can be a little harsh for women content creators sometimes. But how long have you been making content for?
So it kind of started as a joke.
Same.
Like during COVID, I was in college at the time, like end of my freshman year, like throughout my whole sophomore year of college. So
Yeah.
for that period of time, I moved home in Washington. So all I was really doing was school and skiing, and I couldn't really see a lot of other people.
Fair.
And like, everyone was on TikTok, and I was like, oh, like, I had kind of started shooting with a GoPro more, and I was skiing so much. I was like, this could be fun to just like, film myself skiing, and make like fun little edits,
Yeah.
take cool pictures of like where I've been like backpacking or snowshoeing and that kind of stuff. So yeah, so I guess since 2020/2021.
Nice.
But I feel like I've kind of come into it more, even in like, honestly, this past year, it's actually become more of like a thing.
Right. Was that ever something you envisioned for yourself, or it
No,
just
not
kind of
at
like
all.
fell into your lap a little bit?
Yeah, it just kind of happened, I feel like, because, yeah, it's like when I went to school at Cal Poly in
Right.
San Luis Obispo, so Central Coast, California, for those who are unfamiliar. So, like, skiing wasn't super close, so I felt like I I wasn't really making a lot of content in college besides when I was home on breaks and stuff.
Right.
And like some things were like popping off a little bit, some things weren't. And it was always just like a running joke with my friend group, like I was the influencer, you know?
I know that joke. I'm
yeah,
very
I know, you're very
familiar with
familiar,
it.
I'm sure. But yeah, no, moving to Bend definitely actually made it like kind of a real thing.
Yeah,
for
you kind of
me.
moved here with that under your belt instead of like starting it with a group of
Yeah,
people.
like I had a few years of just like, casual content creation.
Yeah.
so.
Have you been enjoying it? Is it something you want to keep up on?
Definitely, yeah.
Good.
I feel like it's really cool just sharing like kind of my progression
Yeah.
and helping like other people be more confident in like their abilities and stuff like that. I just try to like give off a positive vibe,
I think you do a good job of that for sure. Do you have any plans for summer content, like aside from ski stuff, or are you just gonna kind of take a pause in the summer?
Probably backpacking and hiking.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll probably post pictures, and I'm working with Between Evergreens still this summer, so
Very cool.
I'll be probably posting some biking content, even though I'm an intermediate mountain biker at best.
You're probably better than me.
But we love that.
I'm down for a beginner biker day if you want to get out.
No, please. I'm looking into buying a hardtail. So
That's what I've got. I've got a hardtail, so
Yeah.
we're set. So like, what are some of your favorite things about being a content creator, especially now that it's more solidified as like that's one of your
Yeah.
roles in life? Like, what
Yeah,
do you like about it?
I would say definitely a big thing for me is like connecting and like meeting people. I mean, I met you, like
I think we knew each other via TikTok for at least a year before you moved
no,
to
I think
Bend.
I had followed Josh in college, like maybe even like 2 years, because I think I followed you like junior year.
Yeah.
And we might have become mutuals like a little bit later when I was like posting more, but yeah, and then I was moving to Bend and I was like, it's like you can't be embarrassed about like asking
you just
to
gotta
meet
hit,
someone
especially
online.
if you've been watching all their videos and they're also clearly
Yeah.
watching it and engaging with yours.
and you're
It's
moving to
kinda-
the same area. It's like it's weirder if you want to be friends with them to not do anything.
Right.
And that's kind of like how I like connected with Hannah too a little bit, and like other people
Yeah.
that like we're now both friends with.
I think the community
yeah.
aspect of it's always pretty fun.
Yeah, I'd say that's become like the most fun thing for me. And it's funny, my dad's like a big LinkedIn networker and stuff, and he's like, "You're just networking." Like,
Yeah, we are.
it's
We
called
just-
making friends.
Do you have a LinkedIn?
I do.
I've got one that I started in college. I haven't touched it in probably
Oh
8
yeah,
years.
no. Now that I work at 10 Barrel, I don't use it.
That's
so.
fair.
It was just to get to that ultimate goal.
Yeah. So what are some of your less favorite things about content creation?
I don't know. I feel like, well, I do know, but just like people just need to like have their inside head thoughts sometimes.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. It's like I'm not like big enough on Instagram or TikTok. I think Instagram's kind of become a bigger platform for me recently.
Instagram's definitely my bigger platform.
Yeah.
I like the TikTok community, but Instagram does more for me.
Yeah, same. But I mean, kind of Instagram and TikTok alike, like I've gotten like unsolicited like advice on my skiing, and like half of
Yeah.
the time it's like wrong, and I'm like like okay, and then like it's like a blank profile with like no videos, like
Right.
2 followers, and I'm like, okay,
Telling you
there-
how you could ski better.
yeah, I mean, I take that with a grain of salt. Like I move through life, at least like now
Yeah.
that I'm older. I mean, older, but since at least high school.
You're still pretty young.
I know. But in kind of the grand scheme of my life, I've moved forward with a lot more confidence and like self-assurance.
Yeah.
So
To be
like-
fair, you are the oldest you've ever been. So.
this is exactly. But I mean, stuff like that, it's just kind of, it makes me laugh. Or like, I'll post a clip I'm proud of, like when I dropped the cornice like earlier this month. I was like, so
Yeah.
stoked about that.
No, that's awesome.
And like I got a comment that was like, well, that's nothing, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, it's usually like anonymous profiles, and
Yeah.
it's like you can't take it seriously.
That's totally true. I was
Yeah.
gonna ask. I mean, that was kind of one of my next questions. Is like,
Mm-hmm.
as far as, especially being, I feel like a woman in the field, I get a lot of comments as a dude
Mm-hmm.
calling me a kook or calling me a goof, but never really comments. Like, especially when I post a video of myself actually skiing.
Yeah.
I don't really get a lot of comments correcting my form or telling me that I suck at skiing or anything like that. Is that something that you notice you do get regularly,
Oh,
or
yeah,
is it? Yeah.
definitely. I mean, not like every post or anything like that, but I'd say like those would be kind of my genre of like quote unquote hate comments.
Right.
You know? Yeah, just like just always having something to say about form, technique. Like, you should have sent it bigger. Like, why'd you send it so big? You crashed.
Never make them happy, you know?
Exactly. I know. You can never satisfy them. But, I mean, I feel like as someone, I think I've only had 2 formal ski lessons in my life, so I'm very, like, self-taught. So I just am.
You ski very well for being very self-taught.
Thank you. But I just have, like, picked up techniques along the way.
Yeah.
From, like, actually, like, reputable people.
Right.
So usually, I mean, those comments, I'm just like, well, whatever, you know.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Do you usually respond to them at all, or do you just kind of let them slide away?
I've never been one to really respond to hate comments.
Yeah.
One time I did a video response one time just because, like, someone was like, why are you wearing a GoPro just to do that? And I was like, well, I'm just gonna respond with a bunch of GoPro.
I saw that one. I love that.
Yeah, I was like, well, guess what? I just like wearing it.
I just like how I look in my GoPro.
Yeah, I just like the GoPro.
To be fair, I think when we all first met you, that was kind of how we picked you out of a crowd. Because
there's
a few people around Mount Bachelor with the orange coat, but you had the orange coat with the chest mount.
Yes.
So
I know I might be changing the chest next year, though.
I was gonna say, I've never do you like the chest mount angle? Do you like?
I do like the
view?
angle, but I noticed, like, it moves a lot more. I mean, because
Yeah.
it's not, like, flush with your body, you know? Like, you can only get it, like, so tight. And the main reason I like it is because you can see if there's rime on the camera. And, like, you know, skiing at Bachelor, it's like
There's a lot of
rime all the time. So
yeah.
that's nice. But, I might switch back to a head mount, potentially. I mean, big groundbreaking news, guys.
I know, right? You heard it here first on Apres Chats by Josh Reports. Kate might switch back to a head mount.
I know.
So would you go top of the head or side of the head like Connor?
I used to do side of the head, but I don't know. I feel like I'd have to, maybe I'd put, like, 2 different placements to try them out, you know? Or I could just have, like, 2 GoPros going at one.
The silly things we think about
I
as
know.
content creators. So outside of, like, the virtual space, have you found the ski community overall welcoming, or, like, have you found any of that kind of pushback, especially being a content creator? Like, do you meet people and they ski with you and they have comments about you being a content creator? Is for the most part just super uplifting and positive?
It's been, like, at least for me, like, all super uplifting and positive. Like, I've, like, become mutuals with people on Instagram, and then I see them on the mountain, and it's, like, super cool to like catch a lap with them. And, like, you know, Batchy Baddies, that like organization that Hannah and Christina created has been amazing. Definitely, like, a highlight.
I
of
love
my
that group.
season.
I love that they did that.
Yeah, in the community. But no, I feel like Bachelor's vibe, especially compared to, I skied at, like, Palisades a lot when I was in California, and the culture there, even just, like, spending, you know, a few days there a month or so, is so, like, huck and pray. Like, you are intense. You have to be intense all the time. Like,
You gotta be the
You gotta get
best.
your clips and, like, hit KG22 and hit the fingers and all that stuff. But here it's like, I've had days where I've skied really hard, and then I've had days with, like, you and Connor where we skied poleless with coffees in our hands, and it was
On
so
the kiddie
fun.
lift.
Yeah, on the kiddie lift. And it's like, I love that duality and that, like, people are down to, like, push themselves and,
It's
like,
not that serious.
yeah, go for it. But it's also, like, at the end of the day, not that serious.
Totally.
Yeah.
So comparing that to, like, your professional life, firstly, how did you get started in the brewing industry? Like, how did you know that that's what you wanted to do?
Yeah. So, well, first off, I used to hate beer because I drank bad beer in high school.
I think we all drank some bad beer in high school.
No, Rolling Rock, bad. But yeah, I have a bachelor's in food science, and so I was, like, going through that degree, and I had one professor who ended up being, like, my kind of mentor in college, and he would always try to work, like, beer into our classes that he taught. So, like, I had to take, like, a quality assurance and, like, food analysis class, and we, like, made cider for that, and we, like, did analysis on it, which was cool. And then I ended up getting, like, a research grant with him doing hard cider research.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I really like fermentation, and I mean, food science too. Like, a path you can take is, like, you could go work at, like, Frito-Lay, and, like, be at, like, a big, like, you know, large food
I
production.
feel like
or,
there's
like,
a lot of realms in food
yeah,
science.
I know, and, like, that's one of the paths you can take. And I was like, I don't want to go work at, like, a big corporation like that. And I was, like, a little bit kind of, you know, I was like, I don't know what I want to do. But then, yeah, after learning more about beer and also, like, that hard cider research, I was like, okay, fermentation actually can be a viable option for me, and I really enjoy it. So yeah, then I graduated, and then I worked at a winery for Harvest for a few months before moving here. So I got like my wine experience, but then I ultimately knew that like I wanted to do beer.
Totally.
Yeah, that's my full thing.
Very cool. So I mean, kind of a similar realm of questioning though, because the beer industry, especially around here, is a relatively male-dominated industry. You do work at 10 Barrel, which has a history of having some very impressive women in their lineup.
Yes.
How has that been culturally, like working in that kind of a realm and field?
I mean, it's been great. It's really cool to have Tanya. She's our lead innovations brewer who like she gets so many medals. She's amazing.
That's awesome.
But it was cool to come in and have her there, even though like I didn't really work with her like a ton, but just like having a strong like female to look to in that space where, I mean, currently in production, it's like just me and her still.
Yeah.
So it's still like very male dominated, but it was like nice to have her as someone to look to, you know, and not be like, you know, completely surrounded.
Right.
Not that like, I mean, I've said this to other people before, but like all my male coworkers are great. Like
That's awesome.
I don't like feel singled out or anything like ever, and I feel heard, you know. I don't feel like I'm being questioned or like mansplained to. But it definitely like we'll be in meetings, you know, and it kind of hits me sometimes when it's like there's like 20 dudes and I'm the only woman in this meeting. You know, it's kind of weird. Like I'm like, like especially my bachelor's degree was actually like 70% women in my class, 30% men.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it was like
Wow.
a weird switch up to being, you know, so many women in my classes and like collaborating with women all the time to like being one of the only women. You
Right.
know?
Yeah, no, that is a big shift.
Yeah.
A lot different. I mean, that's rad that you haven't really had to like face too much of that. I remember
no, I'm glad.
years ago, I actually ran a podcast that was specifically about beer. And for Women's Month, we did actually interview a lot of brewers, and it was a very
nice.
different experience back then. So it's like really cool to actually hear that that's shifted and that culture shifted a bit.
Yeah, you know, I'm sure if you go to maybe smaller breweries, and I mean, even, I don't know, if you go like across the United States, everyone's had their own experience, and it's definitely not perfect,
right?
By any means, but I think we've come a long way, and
Yeah.
it's like there's women out there in the brewing industry. It's just like we need to find each other.
Totally,
a lot of time. We're like kind of spread out, you know.
Have you heard at all or been to Spider City Brewing Company at all?
I have. I actually went
Awesome.
there. I'm part of the Pink Boot Society, so it's a women's like brewing society.
Very cool.
It's actually worldwide now, but the founder's from Portland.
Nice.
And we had a chapter meeting there where we had a Zoom call with the founder of Pink Boots.
Very cool.
But yeah, I got to meet the lovely owners there. So cool.
Yeah, one of the last episodes of the beer podcast I ever did was actually interviewing the owners
Oh,
of Spider
really?
City. Yeah,
That's awesome.
Very, very cool people.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Do you have any advice? Like, obviously, you've kind of worked into these realms and you're doing some like really, really cool stuff out there. Do you have any advice for young ladies who are wanting to push into a realm that might be at first a little intimidating in that way?
Yeah. I think my biggest thing would just be like, you have the right to be sure of yourself.
Totally.
You know, you have the right to be confident. And I mean, once you can get that under your belt, like it makes everything so much easier. Like not second guessing, like whether, you know, you're good enough to go into a certain industry or not. And, you know, imposter syndrome and all that. Like I've definitely dealt with that a lot in my life. But yeah, once you're able, like the first step is just to have, it's like that, like you have the self-love, but then you also need like the confidence,
Totally.
you know, to actually like move forward with things. So
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, I feel like you are definitely one of the more confident people I know to approach random things that they might not want to do all the time. Even just watching you ski, like going up to cornices and just going full send on them.
well, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm always afraid to be too sore the next day.
But like you said, I'm still young. I'm sure in a few years it'll catch up with me.
Right. So I guess I really just have a few more questions here lined up. Do you have any kind of future plans for, I know we talked a little bit about summer content, but like for moving towards next winter, do you have any things specifically that you're wanting to do content-wise or other?
That's a good question. I feel like it'd be cool to kind of get like a ski film together or something, but it's like I don't even know where to start with that. I've talked to like a few different people like recently maybe about like plans for next winter.
Yeah.
It's very loose.
It's always an interesting time of year where you feel like you're kind of supposed to be planning it, but you also don't quite
Yeah,
know what
it's
to
also
do.
like, I mean, I liked it. It's like it's ultimately for fun, so I'm like I'm
Yeah.
not gonna get like too wrapped up in it.
Nice.
But yeah, I'll probably work with Between Evergreens again.
Yeah.
It was great working with them last winter. So if they're up to having me again, that would be great. But yeah, no, just ski with my friends, get some clips.
Good stuff. I love
Have
it.
fun.
I feel like you always do such a good job of just like balancing the content creator side and the skier side and not getting too
Thank
wrapped
you.
up
I
in it.
try.
Absolutely.
It's hard not to get wrapped up into it sometimes.
It
as
is,
you
yeah, yeah. Do you have any future plans for the beer side of your life?
I'm definitely gonna stick with my lab job. Being a brewer, I was mainly in the cellar.
Yeah.
But it was fun. I liked it a lot. It's just a lot of manual labor, which would have been hard to sustain like throughout the course of like a more lengthy career.
Right.
I mean, I could have done it, but yeah, I think I'll probably try to move up into the QA realm.
Yeah.
Just keep working away.
Fair enough. No, that's a good way to be.
Yeah.
If you found a path that you like and you're enjoying. Like,
Yeah, no, I
reason to-
love the lab. I mean, I started like early May, so I'm still kind of training up and stuff, but
Very cool.
it's using my degree a lot more, which I think like I
Right.
enjoy,
Are there any beers we should be on the lookout for from 10 Barrel for this
Ooh.
summertime?
I mean, any of the innovations beers at the pubs.
Yeah.
I mean, Tanya, Ian, and Jose be cooking all the time.
Do you have any recipes that you've gotten onto the menu yet?
Hopefully this summer, because we do our employee beers, so I'm thinking of maybe making like an amber or like a cerveza style. So if anyone has any suggestions.
What about an amber cerveza?
Oh my god, that might be a little too crazy. But no, yeah, we just released our AMF and Disco Lemonade.
I saw
so
those,
if you want like a really, really strong cocktail, those will be out there. But yeah, no, I can't think of anything else besides, I mean, I love all of our beers, and I'm not just saying that.
Fair enough. I do enjoy 10 Barrel beers too, and I enjoy the NAs. I've been kind of on that sober thing. And
Yeah, totally.
shout out to 10 Barrel for making a good NA product for me to sip
Thank
on. So I know you know the end tagline of all the episodes and of all my Josh reports and everything. Don't forget to enjoy every day, y'all. Peace. But how do you, Kate, enjoy every day?
I would say I enjoy every day by having a sweet treat at the end of the day. That is very important to my success and my mood. And going on walks with my boyfriend. Shout out Makani.
Shout out
I love
Makani.
you. No, I love a nice like evening walk after dinner.
Oh, yeah.
It gets everything moving.
Do you do that all winter too when it's cold
No.
out, or is that more of a summertime
It's
activity?
more of a summer thing. Yeah, I've had my time outside skiing in the winter.
For sure.
Maybe if it's like really nice and like blue sky.
Awesome.
But-
Hell yeah. Sweet. Well, I think that kind of wraps up any of the questions that I have for you. Is there anybody that you want to give shout outs to either from this season or going into the next season? Anything you'd like to say to everybody out there listening?
Yeah, well, yeah, referencing the shout out to Makani, still love you. I'd also like to give a big shout out to Between Evergreens. They're the first ski shop I've ever partnered with. That's like not something I ever thought would be in the cards for me.
Right.
As someone who would get bullied for their GoPro clips. So, really cool to have that opportunity. They've been great. Go demo some bikes from them. Go check out their bike stuff in the summer. Shred Long and Prosper, you guys are awesome. Another
lead
highlight
off.
of the community.
Hell yeah.
They've been super cool. Like, I just submitted my edit to their contest.
Have you met Andy in person yet?
Maybe once,
Gotcha.
but I definitely need to.
Well, shout out to Andy and
shout out
Teddy and that
Andy.
whole crew. Absolutely.
But it's been cool, like them like sharing my clips and like hyping me up and stuff. Bashy Baddies, obviously.
Gotta give love.
Yeah, gotta give love to them it's been so cool like skiing with women of like all different skill levels, because that's something I've never really had the chance to do until now, and I really wish I had that when I was learning.
Yeah.
Because like no one ever wanted to ski with me when I was learning, because that's that's how it is sometimes. But yeah, hopefully we can have more meetups next season, and yeah, just everyone in the community that's been so welcoming. Just everybody. Aaron for taking pictures of me and being my friend.
Let's go, Aaron.
I know, Aaron, Connor, Hannah, Jamie, Christina. Like the list could go on. So
Mr. Nobles.
I know. Oh my God, yeah, Emron, Bestie. Yeah.
Cool.
It's been. I'm excited to be here for the foreseeable future.
Awesome. So. And for anybody listening who wants to find your content and see your videos and stuff, what's your handle on Instagram and TikTok and all those fun spots?
Instagram, it's Kate P. Perry, and then TikTok is Cursed Images 123 is my TikTok handle.
I don't know if I ever noticed that.
Yeah, no, it's very unserious. But yeah, no, those are my two. If you want to follow me on LinkedIn, just kidding.
Yeah, right. Shout out LinkedIn. Let's go.
Shout out LinkedIn.
Proper networking for skiers
Exactly.
and snowboarders. Hell yeah. Awesome. Well, Kate, thank you so much for sitting down with me this afternoon on a beautiful day. Let's definitely plan some rounds of disc golf soon.
Yes.
But everybody out there listening, thank you so much for listening to another episode. Hope you get out, enjoy some of the Central Oregon sunshine this season. If you do want to follow along, find more Apres chats, you can find it on YouTube and Spotify. Working on getting it on some other platforms. Otherwise, if you want your daily dose of Stoke, don't forget to follow me along at Josh Reports on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. And also, I do have a website now. I just finished launching that. It's something I used to have. It's something I have again now. It's www.joshreports.com. So you can go check that out, pick up some merch, have a good time. And most importantly, my friends, whatever you're doing out there today, do not forget to enjoy every day, y'all. Peace.